Hello and welcome to Wrestling in 1995, Episode 12, And the Rest. What does And the Rest mean for this series? It means I will be taking a look at the other promotions that I was not able to make a full video on. Now, will I be missing a few promotions? Most likely yes. In 1990, I know there's a few promotions that I miss, and 1995 will be no different. There are a few promotions that I did see were listed as being active in 1995, but I found absolutely nothing from them in 1995, so these promotions will not be in this video. So let's get started, and the first promotion had a full video in 1990. This is WWC in Puerto Rico, the World Wrestling Council. WWC in 1995, Carlos Colon is still the top star and he still holds the WWC Universal Heavyweight title. Colon is the Universal Champion from the start of 1995 until he vacates the title on December 16th. This was Carlos Colon's 16th reign as WWC Universal Heavyweight Champion. The next promotion is the American Wrestling Federation, the AWF. In this promotion, they use the British wrestling rules, where the matches all have rounds. In 1995, the AWF Heavyweight Champion is Tito Santana. Santana is champion for the full calendar year. AWF also had tag team titles, held by Greg the Hammer Valentine and Wildfire Tommy Rich, who were the only team to hold these belts. All Pro Wrestling would get started in 1995. Some of the stars that would appear in APW would include Michael Modis, Steve Rizzono, Robert Thompson, Mike Diamond, Mad Dog Moretti, Super Diablo, Frank Dalton, and Chris Cole. German Pro Wrestling was a short-lived promotion that closed its doors in 1995. On their cards, you would see such wrestlers as Dale Preston, Robert Frazier, Robbie Brookside, Eddie Steinblock, UK Undertaker, UK Mountie, UK Doink, and Indian Warrior. The WWE, the World Wrestling Empire. Probably better known for being the main show of Now That's What I Call Wrestling's YouTube channel, where he reviews the surviving shows that he found on YouTube. In 1995, the WWE Heavyweight title saw 6 different title reigns. The Beast, TJ Steele, Bobby Burns, TJ Steele again, Annihilator, and Chief Red Eagle all held the title in 1995. The World Wrestling Empire also had tag team titles, a light heavyweight title, a television title, and a junior heavyweight title. The UWA in Mexico. From the mid-70s all the way to the early 90s, UWA would be one of the most successful Mexican wrestling promotions, rivaling EMLL. But in December of 1995, UWA would close its doors. The UWA World Heavyweight Champion when UWA closed was El Canek. The UWA World Welterweight Champion was Super Crazy. One of the UWA's top championships since the early 80s was the WWF Light Heavyweight Championship. The final man to hold that title in the UWA was Aero Flash. The UWA's final show would be on December 29. Pennsylvania Championship Wrestling got started in 1995. The first PCW heavyweight champion was Crash the Terminator. This is the future Hugh Morris Bill DeMott. The PCW tag team titles were first won by Assault and Battery, Jimmy Dio, and Max Crimson. They would lose these titles to Jimmy Del Rey and Dr. Tom Pritchard, the Heavenly Bodies. The very next day, Assault and Battery would win back the titles. PCW also had a junior heavyweight championship, and their first champion was Steve Corino. North American All-Star Wrestling. The top title was the North American Heavyweight Championship, and the Colorado Kid and Cactus Jack traded the belt back and forth. Their tag team champions in 1995 were the Moondogs. Big Japan Pro Wrestling was started by the great Kojika and Kendo Nagasaki. BJW would specialize in deathmatch wrestling. BJW did not have any titles in 1995, but they had plenty of barbed wire matches and violence. Big Japan's top star in 1995 was Kendo Nagasaki. Gaia Japan was a Joshi promotion started by Chigusa Nagayo. Chigusa Nagayo was a huge star for All Japan Women's Wrestling in the 80s as part of the Crush Gals tag team. The first show for Gaia Japan would be called Memorial First Gong in Korakuen. The main event of the first show would see Devil Masami and Mayumi Ozaki beat Chigusa Nagayo and Dynamite Kansai. Gaia Japan would last around 10 years, closing its doors in 2005. The German Wrestling Federation was founded in 1995 by Ahmed Charer and Crazy Sexy Mike. This promotion still exists to this very day. Their very first show in 1995 was called Winter Slam. Yoshimoto Women's Pro Wrestling JD, later known as JD Star, had their first show on December 24th, 1995. They would also have their second show on December 25th, 1995. Stars on the first two shows would include Bull Nakano, Bison Kimura, Kuga, Jaguar Yokota, Lola Gonzalez, and Yuki Lee. War, Wrestling, and Romance. Their top title was the War World Six-Man Tag Team titles. Fuyuki-gun would start the year as the War World Six-Man Tag Team Champions. Other teams that held the Six-Man Tag Team titles in 1995 would include Heisei Ishin-gun, Animal Hamaguchi, Genichiro Tenryu, and Koki Kitahara, Fuyuki-gun again, and Arashi, Koki Kitahara, and Nobutaka Araya. War also had the International Junior Heavyweight title that made its debut in 1995. The first champion would be Gedo. Other International Junior Heavyweight title reigns in 1995 would include Lionheart Chris Jericho, Ultimo Dragon, Gedo, and Ultimo Dragon. The Wrestling Alliance out of Southampton, England. Formerly known as Southeastern Wrestling Alliance, it was owned by Scott Conway. He owned the promotion from 1986 to 2003. Pro Wrestling Express would get started on September 9th, 1995 with a tournament to crown the first PWX Heavyweight Champion. The finals would take place on October 21st, 1995, where B.A. Briggs beat Vince Charming to become the first PWX Heavyweight Champion. NWA Sabu had their final show on January 6, 1995, where Sabu successfully defended his NWA Independent World title versus Rob Van Dam. Other wrestlers on this final show would include Dan the Beast Severin, Damien, and Osamu Nishimura. The IWCCW, the International World Class Championship Wrestling. This was the IWCCW's final year in business. The IWCCW heavyweight champion to start 1995 was Tito Santana. He would lose the title to Greg the Hammer Valentine. He would then lose the title to Koko Beware. Koko Beware was the last IWCCW heavyweight champion. The Samoan Gangsters were the only IWCCW Tag Team Champions in 1995. They were also the last IWCCW Tag Team Champions. The only other title in IWCCW was their light heavyweight championship. The only champion in 1995 was Robbie Ellis. He was also the final champion. Fighting Arts Mat Enterprise, also known as Fame, had one show in 1995. On this card would be such wrestlers as Alexander the Great, Zakk Wylde, Big Mac, Bill Armstrong, Johnny Paradise, Joe E. Legend, and Christian Cage. This promotion was based in Toronto, Canada. Canadian Rocky Mountain Wrestling would close its doors in 1995. The CRMW heavyweight title would have 7 reigns and 5 champions in 1995, including Big Titan, Jerry Morrow, Johnny Smith, and Black Bart. The CRMW tag team titles would see 3 tag teams hold them in 1995. Steve Gillespie and Steve Wild, Eric Freeze and Steve Gillespie, and the Wild Stallions. The CRMW mid-heavyweight title saw 9 different title reigns. The 2 big names to hold this title was Lance Storm and Chris Jericho. IWA Japan, a deathmatch wrestling promotion, their big tour in 1995 would be the Kawasaki Dream. This tour would have the King of the Deathmatch tournament. The finals would see Cactus Jack beat Terry Funk. IWA Japan would also have some titles. Dick Slater would be the IWA World Heavyweight Champion until vacating the belt in August. On August 15th, Tarzan Goto would win the IWA World Heavyweight Championship, and he would hold it for the rest of 1995. IWA Japan would also have some tag team titles. There would be 5 title reigns in 1995 with teams like the Headhunters, Los Cowboys, Cactus Jack and Tracy Smothers, and Mr. Ganosuke and Tarzan Goto holding the tag titles. Wrestlo, a promotion from the UK, they would have stars like Tony St. Clair, Steve Prince, Drew McDonald, Leon Satoshi, this is Satoshi Kojima, Ulf Herman, Dave Taylor, Dale Preston, American Avalanche, Jesse James, Klondike Kate, Nikki Monroe, Tina St. Clair, Jason Cross, Danny Collins, and Fit Finley. The New Frontier Wrestling Alliance. The NFWA Heavyweight Champion in 1995 was Will-O-the-Wisp, better known as Jeff Hardy. He beat Surge for the vacant title. Surge is also better known as Matt Hardy. The Super Professional Wrestling Federation, SPWF. This promotion was founded in 1993 by former All Japan and SWS wrestler Yoshiaki Yatsu. In 1995, we would see names like Dangerous Uchida, Ichiro Yaguchi, Goro Tsurumi, Kaisuke Yamada, Isamu Teranishi, Hikaru Kawabara, Isao Takagi, Hiroshi Hatanaka, and Yoshiaki Yatsu. The Confederate Wrestling Alliance would start in September of 1995. Their first heavyweight champion was crowned on December 29th. The first champion was Firebreaker Chip. They would also have tag team titles that would be won on November 24th by the team of High Voltage. Tennessee Mountain Wrestling, TMW, would have Chris Powers as the TMW champion and the world-famous Spoilers as their tag team champions. They would also have legendary female wrestler Candy Devine as their ladies champion. Promo Azteca was located in Mexico and was founded by legendary luchador Fuerza Guerrera. In 1995, Mexican wrestling stars like Mil Máscaras, Villano Tercero, Rey Mysterio Jr., Psicosis, El Santo Negro, and Super Astro would all compete for Promo Azteca. The African Wrestling Alliance would be based out of Cape Town, South Africa. The top title in this promotion was the All Africa Heavyweight title. In 1995, the champion is Sean Cohen. International Championship Wrestling Alliance, ICWA, was founded by Ron Slinker in 1989. in 1995, ICWA would close its doors and fold. Oregon Pro Wrestling Federation was founded by Billy Jack Haynes in 1994, but would close its doors in 1995. They had a heavyweight championship and tag team championships. Stars like Buddy Rose, Moondog Moretti, and Scott Norton would compete in OPWF. Tri-State Wrestling out of Kentucky would have names like Flash Flanagan, Mike Samples, and Doug Basham competing for them. Tri-State Wrestling would fold in 1995. Union Pro Wrestling out of Japan would have names like Poison Sawada, Ryo Miyake, Goro Surumi, Masaru Toi, and Hikaru Kawabata. Union would close in 1995. International Stars of Wrestling out of British Columbia, Canada is yet another promotion that would close its doors in 1995. ISW had used stars like Greg the Hammer Valentine, Rocky De La Sera, and Doink the Clown, portrayed by Matt Bourne. NWA Dallas would have the Rock and Roll Express as the NWA Tag Team Champions and Greg the Hammer Valentine as the NWA North American Champion. The Canadian Wrestling Federation would start up in 1995. Their first heavyweight champion was Power Ranger. Other CWF champions that year would include Mr. Pink, Robbie Royce, and Bugsy Slug. Kaiju Big Battle would start up in 1995, a promotion with lots of crazy gimmicks, and you just have to see it for yourself to believe it. EWA, the European Wrestling Association. This promotion would be founded in 1995 by the Dirt Bike Kid. Stars like Sabu and Doug Williams would compete in the promotion in 1995. The World Wrestling Organization was founded in 1995. The WWO heavyweight champion in 1995 was Butcher Blackwell. Central Canadian Wrestling out of Somerset, Manitoba, Canada had Canadian wrestling legends like Evil Eddie Watts and Vance Nevada on the cards. Great Lakes Wrestling out of Westland, Michigan had a young D'Lo Brown on the cards before he went to the WWF. Mid-Eastern Championship Wrestling out of West Virginia would have guys like Steve Carino and Jimmy Valiant competing for them throughout the years. Not much is known about them in 1995 though. American Commonwealth Wrestling had big-name stars like Tito Santana, Virgil, Rick the Model Martel, Mikey Whipwreck, and the Bushwhackers on the cards. The ACW champion in 1995 was T. Ranchilla. Southern Championship Wrestling out of Clinton, South Carolina. The SCW champion in 1995 was J.W. Steele. The National Wrestling Conference. The NWC champion in 1995 was Sabu. They also had stars like Virgil, the Junkyard Dog, the Iron Sheik, Jim the Anvil Neidhart, Rob Van Dam, and the Honky Tonk Man. The biggest name they would bring in was the Ultimate Warrior, who beat the Honky Tonk Man in the main event of the July 22 show. Great American Wrestling Federation out of Asheville, North Carolina. They would have big name stars like the Rock and Roll Express, Nature Boy Buddy Landell, and Unabomb on the cards. Unabomb is more famously known as Kane in the WWE. New Jack City Wrestling out of New Jersey. They would crown their first champion in 1995, and this would be Virgil. North American Wrestling out of Pittsburgh. The NAW champion in 1995 was Super Moondog. The NWA World Women's Champion Bambi would also defend her title for NAW in 1995. Another big star competing in NAW in 1995 was Cactus Jack. The United States Wrestling Federation out of New York. At their Fall Brawl 1995 show, Virgil won the USWF heavyweight title after beating Lord Zoltan. PCW, Pro Championship Wrestling, would have big names like Cactus Jack, Doink the Clown, Demolition Axe, and the Bushwhackers. The NWA World Women's title would also be defended on these cards by Debbie Combs. IWA Shonen out of Japan would have names like Ryoma Go, Goro Surumi, Ichiro Yaguchi, and Poison Sawada. United Nations Wrestling out of Japan's had names like Sad Genius, Mark Fleming, Crusher Takahashi, Toyonari Fujita, and Ichiro Yaguchi. Fighting Spirit Wrestling out of Japan would have names like George Takano, Black Hole, Hopper King, and Akinori Tsukioka. Shin FMW, started in 1995 by Tarzan Goto, would have stars like Shoji Nakamaki, Takashi Okano, Kaisuke Yamada, Kaizo Matsuda, and the Headhunters. Pro Wrestling International out of Indianapolis, Indiana had names like Bobo Brazil Jr., Ian Rotten, Madman Pondo, and Kamala Jr. on the cards. And that was wrestling in 1995. I want to take a minute and thank everybody that supported me on this channel in the last nearly 2 years. Doing videos on YouTube is something I always wanted to do, and I'm having the time of my life doing it. So to those who do take the time to click on my videos, thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. The Wrestling In series will return in January 2026. Like last year, at the end of this video, you will see my picks for Wrestler of the Year, Tag Team of the Year, Match of the Year, and Promotion of the Year. So with that being said, I will see you all next week.
L'apocalypse ne fait que commencer.